Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for what I believe is technically episode 8, but now, Randy's that right? Also, I'm Mike. This is Randy. Hi, Randy.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm bad at counting, but I think sure 8 sounds good. We'll go with that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. This is, wait, are these guys friends? And Randy and I have both had a lot going on in our lives, so we skipped a second episode in, 3 weeks, and we're just terrible people. Any momentum we have had lost. The show's going to be terrible. That's the kind of energy I want to bring to the revamp today.
What a
So
tease.
I made a point earlier when I was working on our topic for today, and I thought about all those revamps, reboots in the modern era, and how they always have to have the lead character be just a sad, miserable sack of shit who never grew or they regressed, like your modern Indiana Joneses or what they did to Han Solo. Really, anything they do with Harrison Ford, he has to be miserable in the modern age. But that's us. We took 2 weeks off, and now we're going to revamp, regress, and just be miserable, miserable people. That's how it works.
I can hear the viewers just tuning in left and right, or is it them running away? I can't tell.
I'll be honest, I hated that intro so much that I'm like, do we do it over? Like, I just talked. I just started talking. I have no, like, I didn't write any of that. I didn't plan anything. I just started talking. And this is right now. This is real. This is dead set real, Randy. I will put like a disclaimer or a joke in. Do we do a new intro? And we pretend this never happened except for a reference in the new intro we record.
Let's see what happens the second time. I'm always interested to see what
Okay.
develops.
So at some point, if you're like, no, now you have to keep both intros. You can make that call. I'm putting this ball into your court
Oh
because
boy.
This could air, which is why I'm still an announcer podcast voice. This could
That's
still air. But we're gonna do a new intro that's either the second intro or the only intro that has a sly reference to the first intro. I'm gonna take a pause, and if it's a long pause, it'll be edited to a short pause.
all
But,
I'll say
but
is if
don't
you're
talk,
lying to me and this whole podcast, this whole episode is just doing intros, I'm not going to be very thrilled.
Randy. Look down. I haven't even hit record. all right,
Oh
all
no.
right, all right. Quiet on the set. Quiet on the set. Awesome. With a critic reference. I just want to let you know when I clear my throat, that was a critic reference. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? This is, I think, episode 8. I am Mike. This is Randy. Randy, say hello, because I never know how to cue you, so I point at you in a camera that you can't always see. Randy, say hello.
And you generally just say, hey, everybody, which I will do once again. It is great to be back. And thanks for hanging with us. If you, I know it's been a couple of weeks that we've been in and out, but we're glad to be back. We got some fun stuff to tackle today.
I'm really excited for today. That said, I'm not in love with this intro. This is the first time we've done this intro. Definitely the first time. This has not been a multiple take already. And listen, you've already hit 2 ums, and I have to edit this later. And I'm not happy with that. If we could do a third intro, a first intro. Hey, sorry. I did that just to fuck with you. I don't know if we can use this. The first one we could have used. This one I'm doing to fuck with you, and I'm just looking at your face, and I regret nothing.
I am completely hesitant to react to any of this because I'm like, am I in the real world? Am I in Mike's, I don't know, sarcastic and diabolical experiment? I think it's much more the latter than the former, but on we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 8 of Waiter These Close Friends. I'm Mike. This is Randy. Say hello, Randy.
Fuck this guy.
What? 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 You would say such a thing to the man who has the power to edit your voice?
Oh, that's a good point.
So,
You've already done that many a time. So.
Oh, I did it one time. I just did it multiple times in the same episode.
Fair.
You said, it's how do you qualify it? How do you quantify it? Okay, let's focus up. Because you've been really taking us off track this episode. I've been dialed in.
I'm the derailer.
You sitting here. We've done this intro 5 times. So, oh God.
Remember we said we were bad at counting? Oh wait, I don't know if that intro actually made it in or not.
Why am I doing this today also when we have a jam-packed episode? Both of us are on time restrictions where we have to be done. And I'm sitting here going, let's try the intro again. Let's do a fake fourth intro. It'll be great. Let's do
And
it.
again and
Come on.
again.
Let's get into the actual episode. So we're going to not hit a lot of our normal stuff this week. We are not going to do what we watch, partly because both of us were so busy with real life stuff. That's why we skipped a week. Partly because we have so much we want to dive into on our main topic. I am also not going to be doing Cool Guy Randy's Cool Guy Music Corner with him. Twofold. One, I never listened to the album from last time, which I already forgot which one it was. So we have nothing to discuss. Two, we have so much to talk about. And three, I need to save this for a future episode because Randy told me he listened to the Joe Pesci album. And I don't want a single thought from you on that right now. I want that next week. I want you
Done.
to have time to talk about Joe Pesci's album that you listened to the entire thing on.
Oh,
And
there
I'm
are
just
thoughts.
still,
Believe me, there are
nope,
thoughts.
we don't have time for them. We don't have time for
Indeed.
them because this week we are stunt casting yet again. We are building a roster yet again. We've built a roster of sketch comedians for our Ultimate Sketch Dream Team. We have cast a D-Generation X movie as it takes place in the 90s. Today's criteria is a bit more off the rails than any of that. We have looked at every NBC sitcom from 1970 until today, which, if you know anything about the history of NBC, means that really we've looked at every NBC sitcom from 1982 until 2019. And we have cast and created our own new sitcoms of all-star actors and all-star characters. Randy, thoughts on this before we dive into the actual breakdown of the shows?
Just confirming. So we did settle on 1970. I just wanted to make sure. I have alternates just in case, but there was one that I
No,
may have done from before that, but I can cut that
we
one out. So
you had originally pitched you want to do 90 and above.
okay.
And I said, oh my God, because then you're cutting out everything from the classic 80s era.
Yeah.
And that's insane to me. And I thought, well, that's let's bump it up to the 70s. And then it's like, well, maybe I went to 60s. No, I went with the 70s and above because there was a character that I wound up not casting, but was on my short list and almost made it. That was in a sitcom that ended in 1970. So I needed it to be 1970s on to include the character that I wound up not including. So I had all these arbitrary rules in my head that I didn't.
Understood. Like I said, I had more than the amount that we're drafting, so I will be in good shape.
We decided if this was an ensemble show, we went with the Friends rule of 6 lead characters. There are 6 lead characters. They all get equal billing. They all have equal footing. As you said in a text, by the last season, they're all making $1 million an episode. There's solidarity here. We then cast 4 recurring characters that can pop up regularly throughout the season. They're not in every episode, but they are regularly there. You think, if you're thinking Friends again, you think you're Janice's, you think you're Gunthers, people that are just always around. We then came up with backups because we are going to do this in a draft format. I'll pick one, Randy will pick one, I'll pick one, Randy will pick one. Once we have our cast, we'll talk about the plot of our show. Actually, should we probably establish the plot first so we know why we're casting who we're casting? Then we'll cast our leads, we'll cast our recurrings, we'll talk about our alternates. Who was on the bench? Who didn't quite make the cut? Why did they not make the cut? Why were they an alternate? And then we will pitch one, after all of that, we'll pitch one mega guest star for a Sweet Sweet episode. That, for the kids who don't remember Sweet Sweet, it was February, May, and the early fall when all your ratings and revenue would tie together. The bigger the ratings were, the more money you got for the next quarter. You needed them big Sweet Sweets ratings draws. And we'll pitch who our guest star is, why are they the guest star, what's going to do here. But while I won an intense rock, paper, scissors contest before the show, best 2 out of 3, even though I won first crack at casting and I get the first pick on casting, Randy, I'm going to, a gentleman, and I'm going to say, please give us your pitch first for your plot. What is your sitcom about?
Okay, so my sitcom takes place in it's kind of a nondescript oceanside town at a upscale resort. and the majority of our characters are staying at this resort. A couple of them are employees of the resort when COVID hits. And so they are locked down and have to stay quarantined within this setting. And that leads to their interactions and back and forth. And we see kind of the back and forth on how they're making do at the times when they can't leave, essentially, the premises.
Okay, I like that because I didn't focus so much on this on mine, but I did give some thought as to why are all of these characters from all these desperate different shows together?
Hmm.
Because, something we hadn't talked about, decided on is, are we picking these characters from their prime in the height of what their regular show run would be? Are we picking them in the real day? Pretending the actors are alive, because many of them will have passed on for at least
Hmm.
who I've cast. But assuming that, pretending they're actually live, are we saying, no, it's 2024 and this is what they're doing now? Is there a thought of,
I was saying within either their prime or within, as long as it's within their character development of the time they were on the show that we picked them from. So, and when
okay,
I will, if one of my picks come to fruition, that'll make a lot more sense. But
okay, understood. I will say that I had that struggle with two of my characters. One of my
mhm.
mains, the only way I could fit him in was the show had ended already. It was
Okay,
post the last episode. And if we get to that point and you're like, you need to pick someone else, I don't think that can work. I will accept that based on the criteria we've laid out. Okay.
understood. Sounds good.
My pilot takes place in a small town that many of the characters have found themselves in. They've gravitated there for work, or they've naturally led the course of their lives there. These things just kind of happen. I texted you last night, however, as I was plotting this out, and I realized that I kind of just accidentally made Night Court. Like, I love Night Court, right? But it's Night Court.
The old one, right?
Yes, the new one's fine. The new one's fine.
Is it okay?
But
I haven't
yeah,
watched the new one. I'll be
you,
fair.
I have watched the new one. My issue with it is I don't mind the old multi-camera sitcom style model. It can be very funny. But as a Night Court fan, there's only two surviving cast members left out of all of
Right.
Night Court. Now, thankfully, one of those is John Larroquette, who is amazing and still amazing. And he's a lead for
Hmm.
good reason. And they just had Roz on as a guest star in the second season.
Oh, nice.
And they had some really nice scenes together. But it also was just, as an old time fan of the show, was really sad to watch because
Yeah.
the real reunion you got was on 30 Rock, which was
Right.
the one with the cast with Night Court. That was also the Friends joke, where they had, you know, Mac and Harry and Christine, and I'm conflating some of their actors and their characters. That's
Yep.
your Night Court reunion. Anyway, that's a complete aside. I really like Night Court, which is probably how this happened. Uh, but all my characters have kind of found themselves in a Simpsons-esque, Springfield-esque small town. There's going to be
Okay.
a lot of recurring jokes, a lot of rewarding loyal viewers who, if you watch this episode in season 3, there could be or in episode 3, there could be a joke about it in episode 8. It might not be a prevalent joke, but it'll be there for the eagle-eyed viewers, the people who are really watching diligently. But they agree to work together in a night court style scenario. They drink and hang out and enjoy each other's company and get to know each other in this small town. The first episode establishes half the cast as already being in this town and living there for different reasons.
Okay.
The other half of the cast find themselves there due to something plot related. There is one character, as I said, that kind of feels a cliche. They've regressed a little reboot card. And in my mind, there's a mystery throughout the season that kind of happens in the background. They still do episode to episode comedy bits, but there is something that is kind of playing in the background throughout what is probably a 13 episode season. And that helps
Okay.
to keep these characters here and something that they're all working towards together while still just having 30-minute sitcom fun shenanigans. It's
Okay.
in that regard. Now, are we ready to cast?
Oh, let's.
Being that this is a night court style scenario, two of my lead characters are lawyers. My first casting pick is Joel McHale as Jeff Winger from Community.
Mm.
As he is in the final season, it aired from 2009 to 2015. The first 5 seasons on NBC, that last 6 season on Yahoo Screen, remember that existed?
I do, yeah.
And here's the thing, I like that season. I actually like that season. It gets a bad rap. I think that season's better than season 4 and a lot of season 5. But we take him from how he is in the finale. He said goodbye to a lot of his friends. He's teaching there, but I think something brings him practice law again properly. Something makes him here. I think he is a Jeff Winger who has improved, but still needs growth. He still has that narcissistic state of character who you can base a lot of scenarios around within a group ensemble. And he will be, while they're all friends and they may all be working towards a goal, if anyone's going to fuck it up occasionally and occasionally play antagonist within this situation, it's going to be Jeff Winger.
I like it. It's not
Thank
where I
you.
thought you would go. I'll be honest with you. That's a very a great. I loved Community, and I had
Mhm.
actually a couple other representatives that didn't make my final cut, but were in that from that show just because I loved that show. It was so
Mhm.
strange and and meta and all sorts of things that it was just actively trying to completely mess with the format of a traditional situation comedy, which was great.
And it's fascinating too because at its best, it did all of that breaking down and messing with the state while still making you care deeply about the characters and making
Yeah,
you want to see them grow and better and see how they're going to be. It meshed the goofy and the real at its height better than almost anything else. And at its lows, it could not balance that
sure.
balance. But, sir, your first casting pick. I'm dying to hear it.
Gotcha. So based, and this is interesting because we're already to a point where I'm playing off of that, looking at my selections, my original. If I had the number one pick, I think I would have picked something else, but based off of what you've already cast, I'm gonna switch that up a little bit. So this is
Really?
fun, a fun
I figured
exercise.
you'd be. I figured you'd be dialed in because I'll be honest, my show's pretty dialed in. You could pick
Is
unless
it
you pick
okay?
someone I have. I'm going with what I got because I
Gotcha.
trust. I trust my creative process. I trust that in the ratings, this is how we can decide which show. Listen, I know we're just casting this, but I think the real criteria here should be which show would beat each other in the ratings. It's we're on the same. Let's say we're on the same night. We're on Thursdays. We can say I'm at 8 and you're at 9, or you're at 9 and I'm at 8. Either way, those were the two hits. Who's going to be the bigger hit? You know,
This would
that's
actually be like a fascinating exercise to have like a cast doing two
yeah.
different shows in the same night. Like we would never get the actors on board to do that, but that would be really, really cool.
Which show do the people like more? But anyway, dying
Yep.
to hear the pick. Hit me.
Cool. As and it just because I think it's a fun foil for Jeff Winger, but in a way that you still like him, but his character development is such that he's hateable, lovable, all sort of at the same time. I'm gonna pick Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties.
Bro. Okay. He was awesome. First off, awesome, great. And I say that because he was in my leads for a solid hour while I was reworking things.
Huh.
He was in it again this morning before we started
Oh
recording
wow.
for about 10 minutes. Then he's on my bench right now. He is on my leads bench that if you had taken one of mine, I'd move him up.
Gotcha.
Because that's well done. Why does he fit within your show before I say why he could have fit in mine?
Because a lot of I broke down characteristics of why these people, why my leads would be at this resort. Um, Basically, Alex would be rich enough. That's the main. It doesn't go much further than that. I know he'd be sort of a workaholic. He'd probably be somebody that is constantly. He probably would have started Zoom or whatever it was before that. But I could very much see him. He either would be forced by his work because he was there so much. They're like, you have to get away. You have to take vacation. You have 158 days of vacation built up from the last 4 or 5 years. And so he's almost under protest, shoved away to this resort. And I could see that happening. And then him being there, money would be no object. He wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yes, similar thought is that so when I mentioned some of my cast is brought in from out of town, some were already there, he would have definitely been whatever the bigger background thing is going on, he would have come in from out of town for whatever company is something is going on to deal with that. He would
Yep.
have probably started out as an antagonist, become a good guy, because that was always kind of his thing anyway. He acts like he's a dick. He's your corporate Reaganite, but he's your
Yep.
corporate Reaganite with the liberal parents whose conscience always won out in the end. You know,
Hmm.
his instincts told him one thing, but his heart would eventually tell him another. And he works well in that scenario.
I could
And
see him very easily trading quips with Jeff Winger. Like that seems
yes,
it's like a
yes,
natural back and forth.
yep, yep. That's why. And I looked up where he wound up, what he was studying at the end of Family Ties was economics, going to be working on, and he worked on Wall Street at the end of the
Hmm.
family, got a job working on Wall Street. I didn't consider this canon, but I was so close to considering it canon. There's one Alex P. Keaton reference when Michael J. Fox left Spin City on ABC. At the end of Spin City, when Michael J. Fox leaves Spin City and he's typing a letter back to New York to tell him what he's doing as he starts this new life. I'm, in Washington and I'm working to better this because he's working for the senator, he's doing this. And he goes, also, I just met this biggest blowhard. He's a lobbyist and he's just making my life hell. His name is Alex P. Keaton. Guy needs to get, he's like, you got a stick in the mud. And I was like, so if you wanted to take that as canon, he went on to become a lobbyist, which I almost love as why he would fit in for mine. But we'll dial back and say he's probably still just a Wall Street crook. Okay, so moving on, and this is probably my deepest cut of a pick.
Okay.
If you are aware of the show, I'm driving to where you are to hug you. If you are a fan
Oh
of
boy.
the show, if you're a fan of the show, after I hug you, your wife's going to be pissed because we're doing some stuff. But it's getting
Oh
weird.
boy.
Your wife's going to be like, getting a little handsy there, Mike. I know we've never properly met except for like one time at a picnic, I think. My second pick is Nicholas D'Acosto as Josh Siegel from the show Trial and Error that had 2 seasons, 2017 to 2018.
I'm locking my door. I loved this show, man.
Yes! Yes! I fucking loved. We've never talked about this show. I
So I
just
will, with a caveat, I didn't love the second season. The first season I adored. That's
I
how I put it.
like I like the second season. I
Yeah.
loved the first season. The thing is though is that I liked the second season enough to be heartbroken they didn't get a third season because
Yeah.
it lent itself so well to refreshing every season. Oh, did the second season was cute but not as good? Well, there'll be a new mystery for the third season. It would have been amazing. But when people talk about how Pawnee, Indiana is Parks and Rec, in Parks and Rec is like a Springfield brought to life as a sitcom. Sure, sure, it kind of is. But no, if you really want a live action Springfield from The Simpsons, it is East Peck, South Carolina. And to get that, you need to go to the 2 seasons of Trial and Error. I adore this show. And the reason why Josh would work in this is Josh, also being a lawyer, fits my concept, but he is a good, kind hearted man. He is earnest. He trusts. He tries. Jeff Winger will absolutely be taking advantage of him somehow throughout the season, but they will develop a friendship and a working relationship somehow. They will be
Uh,
friends. He will work in this city. And when I say that some of my cast were already there. In my mind, whatever city I have this take place in, and I don't think it's East Penn, but it's a fictional city probably that we could create things around. Josh is already in the city. Josh is already a lawyer in the city, known by the town and doing good things.
I really like it. In my initial giant when I just wrote down every character that I wanted and then started to narrow down from the blanking on her name, the prosecuting attorney, Jamie Mays. Yeah, she made my original giant cut down group.
Randall, what is your second casting choice?
I think it's not gonna be a deep cut, but I'm gonna mix it up because I want somebody who's a little bit still keeps with the saucy, the quippy, back and forth, can trade barbs with everybody. But at the same time, I don't mind a little bit of will they, won't they? And I think this character is going to help will they, won't they for all of them. Maybe not in the traditional romantic comedy sense, but I'm going to pick Karen Walker from Will and Grace.
Interesting.
she can trade a lot, and then there's one of they could just kind of throw away the component of it. We don't have to go down that road of, because it seems every sitcom tries to maneuver that into it. But I think to have that
Yes.
opportunity to at least
Yeah.
explore that part is definitely interesting. And I always thought she was always my favorite part of Will and Grace, and so that's going to be my second pick.
It's interesting when you talk about Will and Grace. We've talked about how I've never been a big, in our Must See
Hmm.
TV episode, we talked about how I was never a big Will and Grace fan, but
Yep.
that was actually because of Will and Grace. Jack and Karen were always funny. But the problem is they weren't the leads. And also, you probably couldn't have led the
Yeah.
show with them. They got their moments, but they couldn't sustain. But I thought Will and Grace were both just terrible, selfish people. And I know they all were, but they were but because they were real and grounded, while Karen and Jack were insane, it was less entertaining for me to watch them because I thought, well, you're selfish, terrible people, and you're boring. So I never got into it. I do think that Karen would try to fuck Alex P real hard, like real hard, because he has money, be doing well. In my mind, Stan was her husband, right? Stan's dead. She's
Yeah.
she's gonna fuck Alex
She doesn't care
one
anyway.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Fair
Plus, it's
enough.
in well, I guess it's different in your sense because it's a small town. Maybe she moved there to get away from the big
Yeah.
city, or I guess in my sense, it's the pandemic started. We don't know how we're going to get out of this.
Yes. And it's
Caution into the wind, and then
um,
she already threw caution into the wind to begin with. So
fair. And it's funny because I am looking now at both my characters in your setting and your characters in my setting as you are. And so far, Michael J. Fox's Alex B. Keaton works in both. Jeff Winger probably works in both. I don't see Karen in mine, and I don't see Josh from Trial and Error in yours. Just because I'm like, okay, those would never work in those. Moving on. So we have for my small town night court scenario. This is where I said, to me, the only way this character comes into play for my show is it's after the show is finished. So
Mhm.
my third pick, and if I need to pick someone new, I can. I can figure this out, but let me explain. Let me explain. Dear God, Marge, won't you let me explain? My third pick is James Avery as Judge Philip Banks from The Fresh
Oh.
Prince of Bel Air. He has moved to this town because let's assume Vivian has passed. I don't need a third Vivian to come along with him. We are not casting a third Vivian. His kids are all busy. They're not bad necessarily. His kids are all busy. His wife has passed. He is still an active judge. They had moved out east, you'll remember, in the finale to Fresh Prince of Bel Air, whenever he moved away. In my mind, this is still in the east, maybe somewhere south ish, but he is
Okay.
playing that role as the elder statesman. He already lives in the town. He has become, actually, yes, he's already living there. He has become a powerful, respected figure in this community. His voice carries weight. He is funny, but just like in Fresh Prince, he is not treated as a joke when it comes to his job, right? People
Mhm.
can make fun of him as a person, as people will and them would occasionally. But when it comes to him being a judge, he is a good, respected judge still. And he would keep these two fucking white boys in line as they try to bicker and do this shit. And he is that authoritative voice that I feel like we need in this scenario. The
Gotcha.
the the reason I also want him in the show, I have a deeper reason if you need to fight me on it. I would like to get to my next pick, which I won't give yet. I feel like I need him there for my next pick, who is not from the Fresh Prince, but they would just play off together so well. But before I get to that point, hit me with any arguments, concerns, thoughts. What do you got?
I think it's interesting. It's I like diversity not only from the race standpoint, but from the age standpoint. I think we're
Mhm.
to have a little bit of a diversity in terms of who we're talking about. We're getting different perspectives. We're getting somebody who obviously very successful at their job, so and a man of larger stature. So just physically and from a
Mhm.
personal level,
Yeah,
is somebody to be listened to. Like even though Jeff is a big guy, he's not going to push around Uncle Phil. like,
there it is.
and so
Right.
I like that. There's something that he almost has a little bit of fear, but respect. Like just always what Uncle Phil kind of held over Will, like
Mhm.
just things like that. I think that would translate very well because there is a lot of probably Will and Jeff Winger.
Yes.
that kind of overlap
There's a
in terms of
lot of
personality.
that. Yes, there's a lot of sarcastic schmoozing going on there that
Yep.
they would begrudgingly become. I'm not even saying they'd be friends, but they would develop a respect eventually, probably, and it would be funny
Hmm.
and it would be hard earned and it would be great in my mind.
Okay.
Now I realize I say that with the caveat of this is the only character that kind of I had to make an adaptive change to after their series. Are we cool with that? Because otherwise he'd be the same guy.
I think I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I think it fits well in it's
Yeah.
we're providing. It's tricky sometimes when a lot of the things that are our favorite characters, at least from mine as I was looking through, they had a lot of similar characteristics. So it's tricky to put six of those same people in the same room and then it'd be interesting and fun.
If you really wanted to, I don't remember where it said in the finale. You probably said New York or something or Philly itself. But if you really wanted to, if we just want to assume Vivian is there and just off screen or at home or
Yeah.
doing something, this is where they moved to after the Fresh Prince. This was the
Sure.
town out east. It can still work if we finish. So
Yeah. I mean, he could
far,
be a retired judge, and all he does,
yeah,
he's a notary or something like
right.
that.
He's
That's
doing
that's all
something
he
in the
does.
town, right? So far, just to recap, my night court style small town scenario. I have Jeff Winger from Community, Josh Siegel from Trial and Error as my lawyers in the town, and adding some gravitas and change in stature. Judge Philip Banks from The Fresh Prince. Randy, who is your third casting choice for your resort sitcom during COVID scenario?
Gotcha. And I'm just clarifying, and I should have asked this a long time ago. We're doing each of our six, right?
Yes,
We're just
yes.
going back and forth.
We're just
Okay,
going back
gotcha.
and
So
forth.
we're not meshing
Oh
ours
yeah.
together. I am not about to make the final pick, right?
No, 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 no.
I'm about to make my third. Okay,
You're about
gotcha.
to make your third. Sorry if that was confusing. I do like the idea of bouncing off what we've done, of bouncing off how would your characters work in my show and how would my characters work in your
Gotcha.
show.
Okay.
But otherwise, we are not combining these. These are separate full pitches. You're getting your full cast list.
Gotcha. It was going to be a tightrope act if we were going to try to do
No,
that,
no,
so I
no, no,
was
no, no,
curious
no.
too. Excited for the challenge, but curious to the how it was going to work out. So, okay, so I'm going to bring in another. I think someone that is smarter than he appears, um, but gets the kind of aw shucks allure, and I think would play really well off of Alex P. Keaton, who thinks he's smarter than this person, but is going to be one up from time to time. And I'm going to pick Woody Boyd from Cheers.
We I cast Woody Boyd from Cheers on mine as a lead. We have our first I have to lose Woody. I have my first lose. Oh my
Oh
god.
no.
This we had established we cannot cast the same people. Our shows do
Right.
not have recurring actors or recurring characters between them. You got one from me. You fucking got one from me. I'll be honest, the way it was going, I didn't think it was going to happen. But
Well,
I have a
it's
bet. But tell me why, well, I guess you just say why you would work without.
yep.
So is he working at this resort? Is he a guest at this resort? Why is Woody at this resort?
So there's a local government conference that's going on, and this is at the end of his Cheers run where he was I think either a representative or something locally in Boston. Yep, city council. So
It always bothered me because as good as his appearance on Frasier is, which then technically makes it canon because he did appear on Frasier, he is just working at Cheers again. They never reference the city council thing, which, to be fair, it did happen as a dare and a bet. So I could see him not wanting to continue with it in that regard. He is a small town guy who probably does just want to sling drinks and hang out with people. I like the jumping off point because I was debating how do I keep him in if he's a city councilman, and I decided to go with the canonical fears of nah, he's just a bartender. So,
oh okay.
because in my pit, he would have been the small town bartender. He lived there with his family. They moved, just he eventually wanted to own his own bar. He runs the bar, gives advice, has a surprising wisdom, just like yours, is good
Yep.
for a laugh. So, but guess what? Motherfucker is not going to be living in my small town on my show.
I'll
So
be living it up in my resort.
Can I tell you though? Here's my problem. I didn't cast a backup for him necessarily. I had a bunch of lawyer backups. So I have to pull
Hey.
I have to pull from my recurring bench and bump him up to lead. He had been in my lead.
Ooh.
He had been in my lead for a long time, and I eventually bumped him
Okay.
down to recurring. I am pulling up as my next pick. I am pulling up Jason Lee as Earl Hickey from My Name
Mm.
is Earl, where he was going to be on my recurring list. He had been a lead. I bumped him down, but I'm happy to make him a lead again. But Earl works well as your small town informant dirtbag criminal, right? You can take him even as he was during the show when he's reformed. You can take him after the show, you would assume, where he's, living a good, happy life, because he has still got that instinct within him.
Okay.
Earl Hickey is a redneck dirtbag, even though he found a conscience and worked to improve himself. In this show, it would work really well to know someone in the town that knows the town, the seedy underbelly of this weird little town. Now, don't turn down the alley on third. If you turn down the alley on third, this thing's going to happen. And here's why. Big Marge is going to come around and, that type of thing. I need that character. Woody would have fit that, plus given them a place to hang out in the bar. Earl could maybe still run a bar for me. You don't know what Earl's doing with that
Mm.
lottery money. He's a simple guy, right?
Yep.
He could just want to hang out. He wants to own a crab shack style place, sling some drinks, and talk about the town. Earl can still fill that role for me overall. Woody was simply my first choice. I'm really glad we actually had a mashup where I had to choose. I didn't think it was going to happen, to be honest. I thought we'd already gone so far off it wasn't going to happen. So interesting show from you so far. Alex from Family Ties, Karen from Will and Grace, and Woody from Cheers. There's a lot going on there.
Definitely hoping for the ensemble part of it and not necessarily. I mean, I guess at the time when Friends came out, we didn't know all of them as much as we did. So maybe this will pull the same kind of idea.
So I would technically know next, but I hit you with my next one because you stole Woody.
Right.
So I'm not going to hit you with the pick I would have hit you with next. Go ahead and give me your next, because I revealed mine as soon as you
Because
took
you're
Woody.
on, yeah, you're in on, you've done 4 already, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So I'm going back and forth here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with someone else who is in town for the government conference. And we're going to give a little bit more heart to my show. And I'm going to pick Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation.
Oh, I love that. That fits in really well. So I have a question. That fits in so well with her being there. And then, so my question is, because you'll break my heart otherwise, but being that they are locked down for COVID, she's still married to Ben, right? She's with Ben. She's happy at this point.
Yes, this is.
She's not gonna fuck Alex B. Keaton and break my heart here, is she?
No, she is complete. This will be as much a in between Mark Brandanowitz and and
See, I was gonna.
and Adam Scott in between era where she was just kind of there as she's definitely the moral high ground, everything else, and just she's there as sort of the foil to the people that aren't as much as like her and Woody kind of overlap a little bit, but Leslie's heart's a little bit different than Woody's, I think.
I see. I was gonna give it to you as I thought it would work out really well if it's in that 3-year gap that we never see when she's that you this happened in that 3-year gap, even though technically that would have been 2014 to 2017 in the show, but we'll play sliding timeline. So, that's a great choice. And that fits in really well. And you're right, because Woody is good, but he's dim-witted enough. Leslie is smart. Leslie can be overzealous and seem dumb, but Leslie is fucking smart. And once you take away first season Leslie, where they fixed they fixed her after the first season. First 6 episodes, Leslie is stupid as fuck. But they knew that was a mistake. That's really good. I really like it.
I also already know that Megan Mullally and Amy Poehler have good chemistry from actually Parks and Rec. So I know that different characters, but not much. Megan Mullally's still playing kind of a psycho horny bitch, but
Yeah, you will get a lot of that Ron and Tammy energy out of this show just with
Yep.
them.
Hmm.
Yes. And you're right. You needed heart. Looking at your current cast, you needed a real solid bit of heart. My next casting, which is who I was originally going to go with fourth before we had to sort out Woody, is who I was going to say why I really want Jed Philip Banks there a little bit, because I feel like this character still needs an authoritative father figure on a show if they're going to be in the show. Stephanie Beatriz as Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn
Nice.
Nine-Nine.
I like
And
that.
God bless Andre Brower. Rest in peace recently. You can never duplicate the Rosa Holt chemistry, but I do think you would get a vibe with Rosa and Philip Banks.
Mm.
That and what's so great about this is my original thought is I forgot about her in the last season. In the last season, he's not a cop. He's a private eye. He can go anywhere, work with anyone, be in any scenario to help anybody. So in my mind, she's in this town. She's one of the ones that travels in, working on some kind of case, working as a private eye, helping clients, helping the court. He's like, this small town needs me. And Philip respects that she's trying to help regular people in this regard. Winger and her would butt heads, but I'm telling you right now, Winger and Rosa are going to fuck. Winger
Yeah.
and Rosa are going to fuck. She's bisexual. I don't know if she winds up finding a girlfriend or a boyfriend later on, but at some point, Winger and Rosa Diaz are going to fuck, and they're going to fuck hard, and it's going to be funny for a while. So, so that's going to happen because there's going to be something about her no nonsense, like barely talking to him, 2-word responses that's going to drive him insane and like horny, angry, insane, where he's like, I want her and I don't understand why. I shouldn't and I do. And then she'll be like, no. And he'll be like, ah. And there's something about that mashup that just like something's going to happen.
Nice. I like it. That works really, really
Um,
well. That's some good chemistry there.
and I also think that I thought similar with she would have gotten along with Woody, but I'll be honest, she works better with him. She'll be
Mm.
friendly with Earl. They will get up to some shady shit to make
Yep.
like her and Earl needing to investigate something for something, some goofy thing in the town. They're gonna cause some hell. And they will get yelled at by Philip Banks. And one of them at some point will be prosecuted unwillingly, like by Josh, guys, I don't want to do this. But you broke the law. You broke the law, guys. I have to do this. I'm sorry. Like it's gonna be I just love the concept of it.
That's great.
Moving on to your fifth pick. Who do you have?
So I'm going to continue with someone that can take a few people down a peg, but either way. So I think they can either take Leslie down a peg because Leslie is very smart and but always convinced she is right. And a lot of times the best stuff of her is the foils that kind of put her in her place and her reactions to them in that regard. Same thing with Alex P. Keaton. It's always great when he gets taken down a peg. And I think if it comes from a source that we're not 100% thinking that would take them down a peg. So I'm picking Dorothy Spornak from The Golden Girls.
Fantastic. No, I like that.
I also think her interactions with Karen would be it's basically Dorothy and Blanche revisited. I mean, it just there's
I agree.
multiple things to mine from that.
Assuming that this is obviously we're playing in worlds where every character is alive, every actor is alive, everyone's
Yes, yeah,
around,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How is Dorothy there without Sophia? Or is Sophia there? We just have to accept it. Did she? In my mind, they're a package deal. Or is this after Dorothy had moved with her husband, post Golden Girls at the end? Like canonically, she did leave Sophia when Golden Girls ended.
Correct. So what actually I'm playing this, I guess it would be before Golden Palace, I guess technically. um
Yeah,
but I'm throwing off of a very strange vibe that Sophia absent-mindedly buried a large sum of money at the at the site of where Shady
you're
Pines
laughing
may have
because
happened.
I very silently had my eyes shot wide fucking open. Like I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah. No, I need a weird way because she was living in that house from the Golden Girls because she didn't have a lot of money. So
Yeah,
this is Sophia. remembered or rediscovered. She's a shady Sicilian woman, so discovered all this money she had buried at the site of the Shady Pines fire that she may or may not have caused, uh, and had this change of heart because she remembered it and gave various amounts of money to Rose, Blanche, and Dorothy, and
I
told
love that
Dorothy,
you. I'm sorry.
"Oh, I
I love that you
concocted this."
created
Yeah,
it when you didn't need to. There's literally already a spinoff where Dorothy isn't with them and they all stay together. That exists already, and you're like,
it's true. I like this better. So it's
to be fair, that I think everyone would. That show only lasted a season without Dorothy.
indeed. So, and the Sophia wanted to see Dorothy be happy. It's her daughter, right? So, and she
Yeah.
gives her this money and say, "Go do something. Go have fun with something." This is I guess pre canon of her marrying Leslie Nielsen, but
Okay.
the and this is what she decides to do. She finds this. It's where mine also taking place on the East Coast, so it's not far from Miami. Go to this other place, and that's how she ends up there.
I love her as a character. I do laugh and maybe mock how you got her there
Yeah.
because it's like there's a lot going on. But as a character, and also like you said, adding some age and gravitas and a different perspective helps your cast also. So I like her there, and she will definitely be taken down. Like I look at your cast, I look at my cast. There are people who, while they'll all be friends and they'll all get along and they will all help each other, there will be butting of heads. And Alex P. Keaton is almost your bad guy. He's not a bad guy, but
Me-
he's going to butt the most heads with the most people, Dorothy and him. So I believe, are we on my last lead pick?
We are.
So this one, knowing that you watched Trial and Error, makes me happy because I'm going to tell you right now, I did pick John Lithgow, but not from Trial and Error. So even though he was a lead with Josh Siegel in Trial and Error, he is Dick Solomon, Third Rock from the Sun. Here's
That's
the
great.
catch. He is the town crazy. He often talks about being an alien. He talks about judging humanity. The catch in this show is it is just played like he's crazy, played for laughs, but there'll be a lot of things that happen casually, just ever so casually and crazy, where people do think, could he? Was he? Could he? No, no. And it'll be a running gag. It'll be a runner throughout the show that maybe he is an alien. It's one of those off screen, it is never going to be stated. It is never going to be obvious. If you bring in guest appearances from the other Third Rock members, not 30 Rock member kids, we're talking Third Rock from the Sun,
Mm-hmm.
where John Lithgow played the head of a team of aliens on Earth who I don't know the legacy of the show, if it's well remembered or popular or not, to be honest, in this modern age. He played head of a team of aliens on Earth who were judging humanity, taking notes on humanity, and eventually left after, helping defend humanity in the finale that, no, don't kill them, don't blow them up. But in this show, he's totally that character. He is awkward. He doesn't know humanity. He is learning. He is misinterpreting. But it is played as he's just the town crazy. You never see him outright be an alien until maybe the finale of the entire show, if we decide to do it, or if ratings sag and we really need that boost and we're jumping the show, then it could maybe happen. But to me, it's a big runner. I need in a small town like this, in a Cheers style ensemble, you need things like Vera was never seen, but you always heard jokes about it. You need something that happens that people can put their own spin on or say, do we believe this or not? We know he's probably an alien because we're casting this show, but to them, he's just the town crazy. But he's the same fucking character, 100%.
I like it.
He in my mind, he would wind up in front of the court a lot. Like a lot of small town court things would happen. He would be, he would get like one focus episode where you learn more about him, but he would just wind up a lot as just Mr. Solomon was nude again in the town park. Three episodes later, Mr. Solomon was found hanging from a flagpole
An
wearing,
exasperated
like,
Josh just reading.
yes, yes. And Winger always wants to just throw the book at it every single time. Can we
Nice.
just get rid of this fucking guy? So,
Did you ever watch the David E. Kelly drama Picket Fences that was on CBS
I
way
love
back in the
picket
day?
fences. Yes,
So
yes, it was
this
great.
is very much as a Douglas Wambaugh for the defense
Yes,
type of
yes. Oh
feel.
my God, yes, yes, 100%. So your final lead for your resort show, sir.
Okay, I have fairly reserved. I have quippy. I have people that are willing to engage one another with barbs. I don't have a left field person that will draw people into his own insanity and that will come in and just appear and you will be very confused by, but he will leave everyone else confused and it'll be perfect. Um, I'm going Tracy Jordan from 30 Rock. And
I love it.
just because I want to see how he would interact with these people because I would want to see how he would interact with anybody candidly, but I
Yes,
think the I
that's
think
such a good choice.
Leslie could take on sort of the Liz role of trying to reel him in just for the sake of she's the rational one of all of them, maybe Woody to an extent. Karen would be crazier because of him. Alex would go insane because he doesn't follow anything, and yet he's way more successful than Alex, which would be a lot of fun of dynamic
Yeah,
to interpret. So that is my wild card and my sixth pick for my
I
six.
love it because it does add that zany fucking. I love all your characters, right? But they are grounded. He's not. He's out of
Yeah,
there. The
yeah,
best part too, to me, the first thing I thought was your entire show, they're stuck in their setting, right? Because of quarantine, because of lockdown.
yep,
Technically, while mine is in one place, they could leave, right? They could do a road trip episode.
sure.
The great part about Tracy Jordan is if you're stuck in one location, he's so rich, you can justify any weird thing happening in that town, any scenario, any random shit that shows up. Why is there this insane statue that is now here? Oh, I bought that. I had that shipped in this morning. Uh, uh, Anything you want to justify, you can do through Tracy Jordan. He breaks your reality
He's a
while keeping your reality.
get out of jail free card.
Yes.
It's great.
So I have a bench that was just for my leads, and I have a bench that's just for my recurring that I was pulling from if something happened. Before we continue to
Okay,
our recurring, I don't know how you have organized. Do you want to hit who your backups were for your leads now, or do you want to cover backups after we do everything?
we can do it now. I didn't have that many. I only have two left on my bench.
Okay,
So
just for your leads. Okay.
correct. Yep.
So hit me with your first backup. Who would you have picked if you had to pick a new lead?
Bill McNeil from News Radio.
I wanted to work in a news radio character. I couldn't figure out how in my show. I tried so hard and I couldn't get my head around how I could have gotten anyone there. The closest was Jimmy James. I almost got Jimmy James in. He wasn't even listed here, but I took him on and off lists a couple of times because I thought, did he move here just to get away from everything? And now he's my crazy rich person. He would have been my Tracy Morgan. I decided not to do it. If for some reason you had vetoed Judge Philip Banks, who I really do feel like is an emotional heart to the show, and I'm so glad you did, I would have simply replaced him with Judge Harry Stone from actual Night Court. And it wouldn't
Yeah.
have been the same show. I would have made it work, but I'm glad I didn't have to. Who's your other?
Niles Crane from Frasier. I really like. It's just I'm a big fan of just understated, and that can kind of my sitcom is very quippy, very very bantery, but that's what I like. So I guess that's why I cast it that way. So I thought that he is, and I like the transplant part of it. You know, he's away from Seattle, he's on the other coast, and so just a little bit, and still the. I like anything where someone thinks they're more highfalutin than everybody else and then just gets destroyed. It's which often happened to Niles. So
I enjoy that too. And what's funny too is you could pick two versions of Niles. You depending on what you want. You have the Niles from the first half of Frasier, where he's a total prude, and then you have the second half where he's a prude, but he's grown emotionally. So he's a
mhm.
prude, but can also accept that he's a prude. It's like my other, I really don't have good backup picks. I would have replaced Rosa with Amy Santiago, but I didn't want to do
Mhm.
that because how do you explain it without Jake in the small town? You can't, and I would never
Right.
break them up. And then, as much as I just said I don't really like Will and Grace, if I needed another lawyer, I would have put Will Truman in there because he
Yep.
would have worked as another lawyer character, and he's humble enough and different enough where he could have fit in any scenario. I would have slotted him in somehow, but I'm glad I didn't have to. So we're going to move on to our recurring characters. So these are characters that will not be in every episode. I say the way I look at it is that say we had a classic 26 episode sitcom season. You did it in the 90s, 2000s. These characters would probably show up in 10 of those episodes, right? If we
Sure.
have your more modern 13 episode sitcom series, they probably show up in half of them, 4, 5, 6 episodes. They are loved, they are always highlights, but they could not be in every episode. They would overpower. I do want to know I originally had moved Earl after having him in my leads. I moved him down here and put Woody in lead. I bumped up Earl Hickey to be in my lead cast after you took Woody Boyd, you bastard. Which meant I had to move up someone from my bench in my recurring to my recurring. And I will point out who that person is when we get there, who I moved up from my bench.
Okay.
Makes sense. But go ahead. I went first with leads. I will give you first choice with recurrings. Who is your first recurring cast member? And also, to be fair, I have a small town where people can come and go. How are you going to justify not having them in every episode?
For the most part, they are workers at the resort. So
Okay.
you wouldn't necessarily see them. I'm saying that this is a large enough resort that you wouldn't necessarily see them all the time. They go off to their quarters, which we don't always visit. However, so you brought up Jimmy James. Is he off the table since he was on your bench?
No, no, no.
Okay. Then he's gonna be my first recurring character. He owns the resort,
I love it.
and just because of problems at home or something, his kids were there and he didn't want to deal with them, so he stayed at the resort. Happened to be that night they got locked in. He's stuck there.
Jimmy coming in and out, I think he would have amazing chemistry with everybody. He would be with Tracy. It would be like a white whale walking into a casino where he would do everything to take as much money from Tracy as possible. And he would do anything he wants to be like, Tracy, you want that? $40,000, Tracy. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that dynamic would be there.
Yeah.
This I know I keep coming back to. I don't have will they won't they relationship dynamics a lot in mine. Like maybe Rose and Winger, but I get what you're saying where you kind of could have it with yours. But here's what I say: this won't be a will they won't they. I'm putting it out there for yours. You don't have to do it. Dorothy and Jimmy James are gonna fuck. Dorothy and Jimmy James have sex one night, and it is going to be so fun.
I can see the lead up scene, not the actual scene, but the lead up scene in my head, just of the banter back and forth, the escalating, they just firing
Yeah,
back and forth with each other and turns into that. Like I could see it.
yeah. So my first recurring character is Danny DeVito as Louis De Palma from
Oh,
Taxi.
nice.
And this is where I'd asked you some qualifications. Only its final season aired on NBC.
Gotcha.
It was on from 1978 to 1983. The 1982 to 83 season aired on NBC after Cheers. It was not a well-rated season because if you remember, Cheers was rated 74 out of 77 total shows that season.
Right.
It was almost canceled. Taxi did not do much better and was canceled. But it's fascinating to me too that Taxi was moved from ABC to NBC and was not considered an anchor show. It was put on after the news show at 9:30, which is fascinating to me. Anyway, why Louis De Palma from Taxi? It comes to the same reason I wanted Earl in. I would have had Earl and Louis as recurring characters originally. Louis is still recurring because did you watch Taxi? Do you know Louis De Palma from Taxi? Yep. Okay, so Taxi is on that cusp of being old enough now where I feel like not a lot of people are going to remember it. I feel like I need a refresher. Louis ran the taxi depot. He is a sleazy, greedy character. He kind of has a heart, but honestly, not really. Even in the episodes where it turns out he has a heart, he's still a dirtbag.
Yeah.
He wants to scam people. He will be scamming people. He will be doing salacious things. And if this town has an underworld, Louis probably at the front of it. and running some public facing business and just doing a bunch of shady shit.
Him and Earl definitely in cahoots with one another.
Oh my God. And here's the thing. If we are going with a full on reformed Earl is maybe at heads knowing what Louis is doing, and they are constantly butting heads about that, depending on the scenario. They'll still get along, but there's so many dynamics there. And I think a lot of behind the scenes action could be they never actually get Louis for anything, and they're constantly trying. They're constantly trying.
Or they get Dick for it instead. That'd be great.
Yes. Where we talk about how Winger and Philip Banks may not be friends, but they're friendly and they have a respect. No one has respect for Louis. Nobody does. He is a sleazy fucker.
Nice.
Fun fact also about the last season of Taxi and its ratings. While it did get canceled and it didn't make another year, I thought, was it still respected? Yes. Someone who was on my recurring bench, but I didn't cast, was Christopher Lloyd as Reverend Jim from Taxi. He won the Best Supporting Actor Emmy that year, their final season
Oh
for
wow.
Boys.
Okay.
So it was still a well-regarded show. They just cut it out.
Hmm.
So anyway, your second recurring pick, sir.
So mine goes straight off of having Jimmy James as the owner of the resort. His office manager slash assistant will be Ted Buckland from Scrubs, the the lawyer who was
Mother fucker, you just took my next fucking pick. You just took my next fucking pick. You fuck. I never thought you would have gone for Ted. He's a lawyer. Fuck you. Oh, fuck. I was so dialed in with him. Fuck.
well,
Sorry. I mean, I'd love to hear your reason. I'd love to hear
for
your
for
reasoning.
no other reason than the Dr. Kelso and Ted relationship is just going to be Jimmy James and Ted relationship.
Yes.
I don't have to do much to
Yes.
this at all. Like it'll be very, very easy. And just the sad sack that and there will be times where I mean Tracy Jordan's going to have a similar relationship with Ted as he did with Jeff Breyer. Like it works too well.
You took another one of my picks, and this one hurts more than Woody. This one hurts more because I had so many funny things. Ted is a terrible lawyer.
It's really
Ted is
bad.
a terrible lawyer, and to your same degree, he will be walked over by somebody. In my mind, Jeff Winger would be steamrolling this man. Occasionally, he would have to be in court, and Philip Banks would just he'd be kind but disgusted. Like, Mr. Buckley, get your shit together. He would have been so funny. Oh, man. Also, by the way, if you've never watched Cougar Town, highly underrated show. He reprises his role in Cougar Town in both episodes as Ted Buck
Oh wow.
because it was created by the same people who made Scrubs.
Bill Lawrence, right? Yeah.
So, who also went on to do Ted Lasso. So, quite the pedigree from Bill Lawrence.
Mhm.
But
Indeed.
while he recurred actors from Scrubs in Cougar Town, Ted came back as a character. Ted was in Cougar Town several times. So
Wow.
also rest in peace to Sam Lloyd, who passed away in 2020. He was so funny. He was
Oh, I
so
didn't know
good.
that. Okay.
Yeah. I know a lot of these actors in the past, but he was so great. Man, and man, that hurts. That hurts. I never thought that you would take him. I got to pick which of my bench I want to move up now. You know what? I got to
Okay.
think on this one. My next pick is my first replacement. The one I moved Earl to the main cast and I moved this person in. I had him as a bench because I thought, do I want the separation of shows? I don't. I am bringing in a recurring character who is a character from one of my lead shows, original shows.
Okay.
Because I thought I'm bringing in Carlton. I'm bringing in Alfonso Ribeiro as Carlton.
Okay.
Because Philip Banks' family is so important to him that it hurt me. I kept getting stuck on it. Hurts me to why wouldn't he have a regular contact, a regular relationship with someone in his family? And if we're leaning into his wife has passed, if Vivian's not there, in my mind, Hillary is not moving to an East Coast small town. Hillary's still living large somewhere. She's probably doing her talk show. Carlton, in my mind, is probably teaching somewhere nearby. He's a professor. He's doing something like, I forget what he was studying for in school, but in my mind, he had evolved enough to where, in my mind, Carlton's a teacher at this point. He's still
I can see that.
teaching something white collar and preppy, but he's teaching something. I want Carlton to show up 3, 4, 5. If I'm doing, like I said, a 13 episode season, we're going to see Carlton 4 times, but it will be enough to give Philip his family to show he's not some cold, withdrawn thing Philip's family was important to him, and it was hurting me to not have that kind of connection for him in the show. Carlton shows up 4 times. And maybe one of those episodes is a prevalent lead in an episode type situation, like his first one. The rest is cameos, a scene here, a scene. Just something to give Philip that connection.
I think as a recurring, it works. I think if you had it as another lead, I don't think it works at all. But yeah, as a recurring, I think it works well.
That's what I say. If I say I'm doing a 13 episode season, which is what I keep leaning into for this type of show, based off your trial and error style kind of template, 4 episodes. Keep it 4 episodes. So, but what's your third pick? Please stop taking my people.
So, and I get to play off of that. I mean, I have this bonus of like I can play that Tracy Jordan isn't going to remember anybody anyway, just because he's so out there. And I hope this isn't leading into you getting pissed at me again. But I'm going to pick, and this is actually a deeper cut on 30 Rock. Then I'm going to pick Dennis Duffy from 30 Rock, and
I didn't pick anyone from 30 Rock, though I was close a couple of times.
got you. And the reason for that is that I think, well, first of all, he wouldn't. I don't have to worry about Tracy even recognizing him, and maybe once he'll allude to him, and just it'll be a amusing moment of clarity when usually Tracy has none. I have him as a maintenance person or something around the resort that just sort of shows up, doesn't really do his work, uh, throws around lines, drives the people that are thinking he's supposed to be doing something crazy. And Jimmy James also is going to, in my eyes, doesn't see that for what it is and views him as doing a great job. Everyone else is very confused. I just always liked Dennis Duffy's character in 30 Rock anyway, and so I'm going to keep him in my show.
I have no notes on that one. I think that's a perfect recurring choice. I think that works perfectly off Jimmy. They would both recur probably together, or you could do them separately. But man, they feel like a double act. And when those two show up, you're like, oh fuck these two, man. So that would be good. I'm in on that. I love that.
Yep.
That's a good one, man. I'm still thinking on my final replacement for my fourth pick. So I'm going to go with my third pick, which is my last original choice that you haven't fucking stolen from me. And I am going Parks and Rec. I'm going Ben Schwartz. It's Jean-Ralphio Saperstein.
Oh,
The
great.
worst. Because in my mind, I need to flesh out this town with more small town dirtbags, more small town criminals, more reasons for the law to get involved, more reason for weird trial things to happen. If I've got Earl on the ground, but maybe he's reformed, you've got Louis being a total dirtbag, you have Don Ralphio, who's really a decently kind person, but also just your entitled idiot who has so many plans and so many schemes, so many get rich quick ideas. John Ralphio fits in my town as a recurring character. He is just a fucking moron.
Oh, it's tremendous. He'll come. I can see him just come blustering into the bar, like and where were you? And then he lists off 8 things that he did, and none of that makes sense. And
but hit me with your final pick, right?
Final, yep. Pick? And so I pretty much, it's not exactly the same as Dennis Duffy, but it's going to be similarly played, where he will be sort of an incompetent worker around the resort. We'll always be asking for tips, and everyone's going to stare at him because they're like, you didn't do anything. Even in our, soon it's going to have to happen now. In our crossover episode,
we're doing a crossover episode? Oh my God. Anyway, go ahead.
I'll stop leaving everybody suspense. I'm picking Jazz from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
My God. Oh my God. This is great. This is great.
So just because I can see him like going around, and he just walks up and he's standing next to, so like Dorothy is sitting, I don't know, out on the lanai or whatever they do, and like with a drink, just sitting there kind of contemplating, and all of a sudden she turns and Jazz is standing there with his hand out. What about my tip? And for no reason, like I have this just being a running gag that Jazz is going to do, just like wanting tips for nothing that he did. And so I was like, this fits perfect.
I love it. Oh, that's great. I'm going to hit my final recurring because I went first lead, then you went first recurring. I'll hit my final recurring, then I'm going to hit my guest star.
Okay.
And then we'll move. Does that work for you? Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Because I won the big rock, paper, scissors, I get the first and the third first. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
So this is tough for me because you took 2 of my original recurrings. The one that hurt the most was Ted Buckland because I really felt like I needed a third lawyer that could come in and out of the picture.
Hmm.
So I think I'm going to go with Dan Fielding from Night Court, John Larroquette,
Okay.
the actor as Dan Fielding. He was on my bench. He would be, and I don't know if I want him height of his powers, swarmy Dan in the 90s, or current revival, elder statesman, but still with a hint of sarcasm from the current show. You could go either way. He would, I think I would actually go with modern old Dan Fielding because he would have seen all of Jeff Winger's tricks, all
Mm.
of them. And he did them and he lived them and he'd be able to call them out. And being older and wiser, he would be able to probably have a good working relationship with Philip Banks when he pops in and out. And he would probably bring a good dynamic to the show. I wanted more ineptitude from Ted, but I think Dan Fielding as a guest recurring lawyer would work well in the show. I'm going to hit you with my list of who's left on my recurring character list. And if you think they work better as my final slot, I'll take it. Okay.
Okay.
So my first recurring is Estelle Getty as Sophia Petrillo from The Golden Girls. I said, there would not be the Arthur, it would be post Golden Palace, because you may recall after the Golden Palace, she went and did 2 years on Empty Nest, just alone as Sophia back in the retirement home and everyone else had moved away.
I did not remember that, but yeah, okay.
So she could have gone and moved anywhere, to be fair. Canonically, she left the Golden Palace, went back to Florida, the business didn't work out, and she was just living at the home again. It is what it is.
Okay.
My next choice after that would have been Fred Sanford from Sanford and Son. He would have been a local business owner in town. He would have been cranky but respectable. That's he would have maybe had a couple of shady dealings and like some plans, but overall he would have been a long-time business owner in the town. And my final one, and this is why I originally asked, where are we cutting off? Because the final season aired in 1970, and I just thought this would be my Dick Solomon replacement, where you don't say that outright this character is what this character is, but there's a lot of hints towards it. Instead of Dick as the alien, I would have had Jeannie from I Dream of Jeannie in the town, Barbara Eden, and there's something going on there and you can't quite place what it is. Dick is much more able to make that happen because you could have someone maybe be an alien. You can't have someone maybe be a genie.
Right. Yeah, you are, you aren't.
It would have been turned into the Great Gazoo from the Flintstones. It would have just ruined the whole concept. But I also think having her as this hot magical character that maybe is or isn't magic with Winger made me laugh. But so she was on my bench.
Yeah.
Is there, and also I briefly thought Andre Brower as Raymond Holt, he would have been somehow there in his police commission, and also it would have been nice to put him. So talking it through, Dan probably is my best choice.
I think
as the recurring lawyer.
I really like Sanford, but I think he would overtake the scene. That's the only problem. I think Dan could kind of stay within the bounds of the scene. Get his licks in, but not. He could be part of the scene as opposed to taking it over.
Okay. Before we hit the mega guest star, before we hit Sweeps Week, I want to recap our premise, our cast. I'm going to go first. At the top of my notes, and I didn't do it. Before everything else, I wrote, make joke about Bill Cosby immediately, and I didn't do it. And I have so many regrets. I wish I just started off. Randy, my first pick, legend of NBC sitcom, Bill Cosby. As Dr. Cleef, I couldn't do it.
Followed by 20 seconds of silence. And
my show is about a Simpson-esque small town with tons of crazy characters, recurring segments. It is like Night Court, and that there's going to be a lot of lost scenarios. We're probably 13 episodes. These people drink and hang out in this small town together, grow as people. Some of them come in, some of them already live there. My cast is Joel McHale as Jeff Winger from Community. He is your smarmy lawyer. You have Nicholas D'Agosto, Josh Siegel from Trial and Error. He is your kind-hearted, good man lawyer. You have James Avery as Judge Philip Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He is your authority figure. He is kind-hearted and brings an elder and diverse viewpoint to the show. You have Stephanie Beatriz as Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who is a private eye, works with the town, helps to investigate a lot of these things. You have Jason Lee as Earl Hickey from My Name is Earl, as your small town dirtbag, but who has a heart of gold, has helped to reform a lot of things, helped with this. Finally, you have John Lithgow as Dick Solomon, Third Rock from the Sun, as a town crazy, probably an alien, but we never say it. My recurring Danny DeVito, Louis De Palma from Taxi. A lot of the bad things in this town happen because of him. Alfonso Ribeiro as Carlton Banks from The Fresh Prince, because I can't do Philip without some kind of family. Ben Schwartz, Sean Ralphio Saperstein, because he is just the worst. And then John Larroquette as Dan Fielding from Night Court, because I needed another lawyer to come in and out to cause trouble. And he is an elder statesman who has been Jeff Winger, but now knows the other side of the law and is a good man. Randy, who do you got? Give me the full recap.
Wow. So my characters, I suppose, are more playing off one another. You have kind of just defined roles for them. I have more, I guess, characteristic roles as opposed to what they're actually doing, because they're all kind of stuck in one place. So we're taking place in a oceanside resort where a variety of different people are staying at this resort as COVID hits. And so they're all stuck in this one place where they all are locked down together, quarantined together at this one location. My characters are Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties, Woody Boyd from Cheers, Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation, Dorothy Zbornak from Golden Girls, Karen Walker from Will and Grace, and Tracy Jordan from 30 Rock. With my, and they are all just people that are staying at the resort. There is no specific, none of them have ties to the resort.
Yeah.
All my recurring characters do have ties to the resort, starting with Jimmy James, Stephen Root, who is from News Radio, who owns the resort and just happens to be there at that point when the lockdown happens. His assistant slash, I don't know, I guess it could be his attorney too, but I'll probably just stick as his bumbling assistant, is Ted Buckland from Scrubs. What is his name? Sorry, I'm blanking on that.
Ted Buckland, his real name?
Yeah, I just wrote
Sam Lloyd?
Sam Lloyd, thank you. I just wrote down Ted Buckland. And also there are two sort of hapless workers that seem to be completely out to lunch. Dennis Duffy, Dean Winters from 30 Rock, and DJ Jazzy Jeff, or Jazz, from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That is my cast.
Fantastic. So I would like to dive into the other criteria we had said is, after we did all of this, we are going to say that there's one big sweet episode with one mega guest star that will draw on the rating. Say our show, it could go two ways. It's a mega show, right? It's a mega star hit show, and anyone wants to be on it. We're going to be in that post Super Bowl slot. Let's get huge ratings, right? Let's have a guest star. Or it could be the other way, where this show is dying, but it is beloved. Let's get someone with a name who will draw eyeballs to it, right? It could go either way. There's a reason to bring in a guest star. My guest star is Will Smith, playing Will from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because it would be one of Carlton's guest appearances. It would 100% working with Phil, but he would also be the type of guy with wherever he wound up, he could play off Jeff Winger. He could work in this town. He could cause trouble. He could help people out. Something insane could happen around him. And then in a real world scenario, it's fucking Will Smith doing TV, doing an episode, reprising a character. It's gonna bring in the eyeballs. So to me, Will Smith is my mega guest star. My backup option, my backup bench. I only had one bench option. Alf. It's fucking Alf. And then this is where we reveal that, yes, Dick Solomon is an alien, but we only do it to the audience officially. The town doesn't find out. The Alf is in the episode. So anyway.
So, because we're saying these sweeps, they can exist kind of in a vacuum, right? If we do it that way, because that's kind of what I did. I'm toying with the mega.
I would like to know that no. It is canon. It is canon to your show, because those episodes were always canon.
Okay.
But it's a big ratings draw that's going to happen.
Okay.
It is canon. That shit
happened.
happened.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm not going to go insane with it. And you can call it my bullshit, and I'll come up with another guest star if you want for this. But
Please.
this, because I would say to call him mega guest star might be overemphasizing the mega. My guest star for Sweeps Week is going to be Christopher Lloyd because I'm going to pair him back up with Michael J. Fox.
I love that. No, that's great. That's which I mean, Spin City already did that episode. They literally called the episode Back to the Future 4, but that's fine. You know, whatever.
That was on ABC. We haven't done it on NBC yet, so.
You're right. No, you're right. What character is he playing? Is he playing a famous character from a show? Is he his character from Taxi? Is he who is he in this show?
So
What are you doing to testify his character?
I was going to have him actually as a. This is going to be kind of weird.
Please.
He is essentially an inspector that is there to check on whether the cleanliness or the readiness of the resort. So he's essentially from like Fauci's team and double checking.
I love that.
And
Honestly,
and then we have a scene where him and Alex are together, but it's we just toy at a bunch of stupid things.
I love that. That's a great concept. I got something you just said triggered a question in my mind. This takes place during COVID, where everyone's quarantined. Is that how you get around there not being masked? You can't have everyone wearing a mask every episode. The entire show.
No, and that's the thing. Because they're quarantined in one place, they don't have to. It's similar to, in your own house, your family or whatever,
Yep.
You didn't do it at home. So because they're restricted within one area, it's okay.
The question is, do you put like Christopher Lloyd in some kind of detox? Is he wearing a hazmat suit? Is there some way that you involve him coming from the outside without ruining it for everybody else?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to think about, and that's kind of a fun way to reveal it too, is I could put him all masked up and everything. But how do we get him to get the mask off? I guess that's something I'd have to dive into to figure out why.
You know what it could be? You know what it could be is when did we first have tests that were readily available, but pre-vaccine? We did have tests during lockdown, right? Or did we not have any lockdown tests?
Yeah,
it's been years and I already forget.
And especially if he's working for the government, he would be
high-ranking government official. This could be a gag in your episode. He gets there and he is locked in a room, not able to interact in person with anyone for 5 to 7 days, separate from everyone, talking to them through a window.
There we go.
Trying to do that. Then he finally is able to test. There is a sequence, maybe it's the Act 1 break or it's Act 2 entirety, where he's locked in a room. Then the third or final act, he's finally out in the world or something to that. You can do it sooner, but that you have to isolate and separate from.
Perfect. I love it.
That would be fun. What would our crossover? You're saying we have to have crossovers simply because Jazz is involved. And in my mind now, my crossover episode somehow has to involve my mega guest star with you. So you can get Jazz, Will, Carlton, and Phil all in the same show. But then that takes over the rest of my show. It just becomes a Fresh Prince reunion.
All I want is him throwing him out the door, but that's really all I want is Uncle Phil throwing Jazz out the door. But
yeah, and also, I'm trying to think how you can.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't cross over into mine, but I could cross over into yours.
Yeah, God, that's confusing because you're locked down.
Yeah.
Somehow I got it. It all happens over Zoom, not the entire show.
Yeah,
like. My segments happen in my area. Your segments happen in your area. And then Tracy's like, I found an internet lawyer who can help me out. And I'm going to cover this right now. And that's somehow all the characters get involved over Zoom.
They have to testify before the judge, who is Uncle Phil. There we go, over Zoom.
Yeah. And you can do one of those things where different parts of the prep and trial, the prep can happen in my episode somehow, where your characters are zooming into my show and they're like, I'm dealing with this guy or this is happening. No, it should be the other way. Prep happens on yours. Something happens where Tracy needs to set it up.
Yep.
And people are zooming in and out of characters. But then the trial can happen on mine, where your characters are zooming into mine.
There we go.
And that's how it works. I like this. This is a one-night event where So if we'll say that your show's on at 8 and leads off the night, my show's on at 9. Is there an 8? Is this one of those must-see TV episodes where somehow the middle 8:30 show that will probably be canceled next year has to tie into our two shows somehow? It'll be real tangential. It'll be like a scene where you and I are a full crossover to bridge it. They hit one scene where they get like one character
Oh,
from yours and one character from mine.
ratings gold.
So yes. Oh, I love all of this. This is good. NBC, call us. Also, magicians, time, space, and magic, revive our dead actors who we've cast in these shows. Thank you so much. Oh man, that's really good. I'm spent, and we still have to talk about a Simpsons episode. I need a minute. I need a breath. Hi, 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 hi. I'm neither one of us cast anyone from Frasier. Technically, Woody was on an episode of Frasier. That's our
No,
that can be our bridge
Niles was
here.
on my bench. But yeah,
Uh, yeah. I was gonna say neither of us
yep.
cast anyone from Frasier. Not, but we are going to involve Kelsey Grammer. We're going to invoke the name of Kelsey Grammer, and lo may he appear before us, because we're going whole hog. We have just spent over an hour, well over an hour, talking about classic NBC sitcoms. Frasier was brought up in passing. Cheers was brought up in passing. But Kelsey Grammer, all-time Simpsons guest star
Mhm.
as Sideshow Bob. And if you're looking at the pantheon of episodes of Sideshow Bob episodes, you, I think, for a lot of people, are going to find one episode that is top of the list, the tippity top of the A list, the creme de la creme. And I think that is going to be Cape Fear, which is the second episode of the fifth season of The Simpsons. It is Sideshow Bob's third appearance, and the basis it's as much as there's only an A plot in this. There's no B plot as there ever has been on The Simpsons, and maybe ever will be. Sideshow Bob has been paroled. This is his third appearance. His first appearance, he tried to put Krusty away and frame him. He got caught. His second appearance, he tried to murder Aunt Selma for the insurance money, got caught by Bart again. Now, Sideshow Bob has been paroled. He is out for Bart's blood, and it is very blatant. He is just trying to murder Bart. So the Simpsons go into the witness relocation program. They become the Thompsons. Let's follow this journey. Randy, let's talk about Cape Fear. We had said before, this is a dangerous line for us because this could turn into us just reenacting the episode. We could do this as a radio play for 30 minutes and just you and I enact this entire episode because this line, I'm talking scene by scene, line by line, there is no dead weight here. It is banger after banger in every aspect. It is as perfect a Simpsons episode as you can craft. And I have so many reasons as to how that worked, why that could work, why it shouldn't have worked, and it did. But I want your thoughts. Randy, talk Cape Fear. Go.
It's so interesting that it is that considered just the one of the tighter, one of the more jam-packed, joke-dense, just hammer after hammer after hammer. You just get nailed with jokes left, right, and just from the beginning, the up late with McBain part, just it starts with that, which is funny. And it just from a from a parody standpoint, from making fun of itself standpoint, and then it just keeps going and going and going. And the interesting thing about it is that the writers didn't think that they weren't sure this was going to be a good episode. They had to pad it out with the extended, the really long couch gag,
The
the
rake
rake
gag
gag,
being
yeah,
repeated
which is
over and
one of the most
over.
iconic things on The Simpsons. But they just did it over and over and over. There's a couple other things too. I thought that they said there was something to the reason they did as much of the HMS metaphor as they did when he was singing was to illustrate the time that it took to float down the river, but at the same time that helped to fill things in, and just there was a lot
I
of.
believe they say that in the
Do they?
commentary. It's
Okay,
in the
I
commentary.
didn't watch the.
It's
I'll admit I didn't
twofold.
watch the commentary of it. I've watched it before, but it's been a while. But it.
Of course. Well, I did not watch it first for this one either. I remember
Yeah.
them saying that it was both a twofold of what would it logically be to get them there, and also how much of this can we do to pad out an episode that is nothing but jokes and no plot.
Yeah.
There is a plot that they're hanging the episode on, but this is a joke factory.
Uh,
This is all this
and
is.
they all, I don't know if the one doesn't hit. Like, I was trying to think about that. Like, is there a joke that isn't like hilarious? And it's just amazing how
And
that
that's just it.
percentage.
And that's why this is almost one of the reasons. This is how I would love our Simpsons recaps and dissections to be. It's not us saying here's the jokes we like. It's saying here's why this episode works, because all these jokes work. Some of them shouldn't work. Some of them should not work. And that's what we can talk about. What are the jokes that work that should fucking work? And why do they work, Rick? Like, talk to me. Why does the rake gag work? For the uninitiated, and I'll hit you with a little trivia and a little setup.
Mhm.
Sideshow Bob follows the Simpsons to a town, and he gets out of the car and he hits his face on a rake. And he smacks his face on the rake. And this is coming after just a terrible car ride where he's been hit with cactuses and things. And if you've seen the movie Cape Fear, there's a famous scene where he rides under the undercarriage of the car to stalk them. Sideshow Bob does the same thing to follow them to this town. Only where it was a smooth ride for Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, it is a hell ride for Sideshow Bob, played with Jones. Finally, he gets out of the car, and there is a minute long, I think, sequence of just being hit in the face with rake after rake that he steps on. It's one time and he crumbles. Then it hits it again and he crumbles. And it is just insanity. And it shouldn't work. And it does. The trivia fact that I'm sure you'll hit, famous trivia fact, the Kelsey grammar in the record was like, this is the dumbest joke. And I will not do this. I will not record this of me being hit time after time. He's like, I'll do it one time. So they just repeated the same audio recorded grumble 20 fucking
Oh,
times, which makes it even funnier. There's no cadence change, there's no different thing. Why, Ryan? Why does this gag work? Because it fucking should, but it
so
does.
I think there are two things in addition to, there is a tried and true comedy theory, right? That you do something, it's funny initially, it stops being funny, and then for some reason it circles around again and becomes funny again if you kind of keep doing it. That doesn't always work, but in this
Yes,
instance, that
yes.
totally is what happens. The incredulity of them just continuing to do it. I think in this instance, there's two things. So one, there's one more after you see him step on all of them, and then there's one more where they cut inside the houseboat and you hear it outside. You don't see it, but you hear it. And so, like, to do that, that's a nice trick to continue it, just because it kind of bridges the gap, but it's still funny because they're still doing it, but it's bleeding into the next scene. And then, of course, the one where he hops on the houseboat to cut it loose, and then he steps on a rake, and it's a wonderful callback. It's a couple minutes later, but I think that they're continuing just to use that vehicle because I think everybody loves a callback to something that's funny, and then you're reminded okay, that was already funny to begin with. It works so well.
Yes. And I think the episode as a whole, it fascinates me because in many of our episodes, we've talked about later seasons and the breaking of reality of The Simpsons, the breaking of the rules of The Simpsons. This episode breaks every rule, breaks every reality.
Yep.
It is season 5. There is no reality in this episode. Any ridiculous thing they want to think of, they do. But here's why I think it works now and why it doesn't work later. Because the difference between now and later when they do it is the characters never change within the scenario. In the future, they will break the reality and they will also break the characters. Marge wouldn't act that way. Lisa wouldn't act that way. Homer wouldn't act that way. Homer's acting stupider than he ever has to get there. In this scenario, all the characters are still themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They stay true to the characters. And to be fair, maybe it's because it's season 5, it still felt fresh, and because of that nostalgia, it still works for us. I could see that they got away with it this time because it was new and different, and they wouldn't get away with it in the future. And because it was new, different, and perfect and funny, we'll give them that pass now. But taken as a whole, set the nostalgia aside, I think it works because here's insanity. but we still love these people and we haven't changed them to fit.
Yeah. I think also there's no scheme to Sideshow Bob this time. He's just gonna kill Bart. And
You're just
so
gonna murder
like
Bart. Yes,
and so I mean I
yes,
think that puts people into a situation where, you know, obviously the stress under that and trying to endure that, it's not unreasonable to think that people would act outside of what they would be doing because they're put in this situation where they have to leave their entire environment, what they're used to. And so I think that contributes and helps the believability, even though it's as surreal as it gets.
yes, yes. 100%. 100%. It's an interesting thing too, right? You show this episode to this in season 5 to the people making season 1, and they would go while they're making season 1, and they're gonna go, "What the ever loving? What is going on?" And what's so great about that is that this was the final episode written for season 4, but was pushed to be one of the holdover episodes for season 5. And as such, this is actually the last episode written by the original Simpsons writing team as a whole, who had been writing the show since season
Mhm.
1. So to track their evolution from where they were to where they got to. Now, don't get me wrong, they didn't do a whole switch over. It was just that Al Jean and Mike Reese left to make the critic. They brought Conan in for season 5. It was the first time there had been change in the writer's room
Right.
after season 4. But this episode is the perfect distillation of what they had grown the show to from season 1 to that point. And it's just magnificent. It's everyone at their peak, everyone at the height of their power saying, let's make the show we want to make. And it fucking hits.
That's they did everything as a takeoff from Cape Fear that was right. Everything worked that they grabbed and kind of almost shot for shot remade. Certain things that they did and just put their own spin on it, but were able to take things. I mean, we talked about this with the 18th Amendment one, how it was similar, kind of where it was the Untouchables, but it wasn't. This is almost like a lot like Cape Fear, and take a lot of things from it, but do it very very well. Where just this stuff that's woven in, it's just this is. I can watch it again. I mean, when we're done,
No,
I can't stop
no,
watching this
yes,
episode.
yes.
It's just
It's
always awesome.
it will always, always. Interesting note. We're kind of going back and forth all over the place with trivia and different things. The credited writer for this episode is John Beatty, who has been credited with a lot of classics. But this one, based on commentary and that sort of thing, this is definitely one of those episodes where they are the first to say he got the credit. This was a writer's room
Mm.
episode. Everyone had their hands in this one. Everyone was working together. Everyone was pinching. Everyone was making this work. Although, funny thing, as we talked about, this is one of the most highly regarded Simpsons episodes of all time, credited to John Vitti. He says in the commentary, he goes, it's fascinating to me that I got the credit for this one because he also got the credit for season 4. So it's come to this. It's a Simpsons clip show, which is regarded as like the worst rated episode of all time in especially in the classic years. So he's like, it shows how odd it can be the one who gets the credit for the episodes, right? Based on who's done what. Because I can't take credit for Cape Fear. And I sure as shit am not taking credit for the clip show episode. But when you look at my resume, I'm credited with both of
Yeah.
those. And it's fascinating to think about. We've talked about how it's tough because we could just recite the whole episode. Randy, I'm going to give you 3
Okay.
jokes. Pick 3 jokes from this episode
Oof.
that you could talk about at length. You get 3
Okay.
because you could do them all, and I know you could do them all. You get 3.
Okay. Well, one, so I don't forget it, and it's because I wrote down in my notes possibly my favorite bit in the history of The Simpsons is the witness protection program thing. Hello, Mr. Thompson, and I think he's talking to you. I still almost cry laughing every time I watch it. It is. I don't. It is the perfect encapsulation of Homer and just the delivery is amazing. The witness protection program agent who is or witness relocation program agent who is just like before he so when I say
Yes.
hello Mr. Thompson and step on your foot, Oh my God. Like that joke a million times. It's never not funny. Oh my God. It's so
It
good.
is also my top bit from that
Oh,
episode. With that is an overlap for you and me. I'd love to hear your next two because we're sharing one immediately
okay.
for top three.
Oh, I wonder if we are. Because I did notes and stuff like that, so I'm probably sure I'm forgetting something. So it'll be good that we're both going back and forth. So when Sideshow Bob cuts the boat loose and they're drifting down the river or wherever they are, he goes in and goes, "Hello, Bart. Your family can't help you now." And cut to the family tied up and laying down, and Homer snoring loudly. And Lisa going, "Oh no, Dad's been drugged." To which Marge annoyedly says, "No, he hasn't." And that one is always one that gets me. I love that joke. Just
I will again. There's no bad jokes in this one, but that one did not crack my
okay.
top three. I do love that joke though. That's good. So I'm going to dial back to one that I feel like is going to be in your top three. They go. See, I'm conflating my jokes. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I can edit this down. I know it's at the trial where he says cheerfully withdrawn,
Yeah, Bart.
but
Bart
is it
Simpson. You
after
mean
they go? He
the little
goes,
boy that sent me to this?
"This is the
Yeah.
same bit." Yes, he goes, "Dank urine, so tell hole," and then he goes, "Yeah, don't you? We believe with they take a jab at network note." He goes, "We object to you saying the term urine like tell hole, where you put that pee so tech hole." That is not the joke that I love. That one is whatever. It's fine. That's a meta network insert joke. It's his response. And I couldn't remember what he was responding to when he says this. When the lawyer says something and they respond and they object, he goes, "Oh, cheerfully withdraw." And the way he says that, I have been saying, "Oh, cheerfully withdrawn" to anything anyone counteracts me on since when did this episode air? This episode aired in 1993. I was 10, and I'm pretty sure I've been saying, "Ooh, cheerfully withdrawn" to anything anyone calls me on at any point.
It
If
wasn't that one, but I do. So I'll do one kind of bonus one. That when Bart is.
oh, you had sorry, I'm letting us give three
Oh, okay,
each.
gotcha.
So you have one.
Got it.
You
This will be
have
my final
you've
one.
done
Yes.
well.
And
Yes.
the when they are on the boat and drifting down the river, and Bart is trying to run away from Sideshow Bob, and he runs to one side, and he sees crocodiles. He runs to the other side, he sees electric eels. He runs back and sees crocodiles again, and goes, "Oh yeah." And I've done that a whole bunch of times where like something obvious has happened, and I'll just go, "Oh yeah."
That's just on the cusp
Okay.
of making it because I go, "Oh yeah," quite a bit, and that's just saying, "Oh yeah," right? No, it's always the way Bart's saying it. It's always the way Bart's saying it. There are so many people in this world that have heard me say things that are to me Simpsons references that are just normal fucking conversation based on things like that. The other joke that I will say is also the trial because I think the trial sequence, or I say trial, the parole hearing
Mhm.
sequence in a perfect episode is a perfect act. Everything about it is amazing. Everything about it is perfect to me. And I took high school German, and every smartass high school German kid who loved The Simpsons walked into that class saying they knew German because that's not a tattoo on my chest that says "Die Bart Die." I would never hurt that little scamp. That's German for the Bart. The cut to the crowd. Oh, no one who speaks German could ever be an evil man.
Oh,
Kills,
that's it.
kills
It's
me,
so good.
kills me. That's my third one.
Nice.
One other note that I have mentioned in the episode that we did about Homer versus the 18th Amendment, where they cut to the gag about the cops and there's randomly an extra cop. I am now introducing a segment called Springfield Cop Watch. How many cops are in this town based on the joke they want to tell? So today in Springfield Cop Watch, normally in a regular episode of The Simpsons, it's Chief Wiggum, it's Eddie, and it's Lou. End of story. In any normal episode of The Simpsons. Today on Springfield Cop Watch, there's at least a dozen cops.
Whoa.
At least a dozen cops, all gambling in the back room because they cut to the point where they're talking about the law. And there's the episode where it's like, yeah, but it's also illegal to put squirrels down your pants for the purposes of gambling. And then it cuts to all the cops in the back room gambling. Eddie and Lou are the two main cops. Eddie's got cops, or Scott got cops. Eddie's got squirrel down his pants, and they're all laughing while there's about 10 cops throwing money in a pot, watching Eddie dance around with squirrels in his pants. And I thought, where the fuck did all those weirdly drawn, backward looking cops come from? They're all in the background. For this episode, today on Springfield Cop Watch, there's at least 12 to 13
Wow.
cops.
And then only 3 when they hold up Sideshow Bob later on, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's only ever 3 cops where they need or they go to their 3 cops. It's the mandate moving forward, and watch this now for episodes moving forward. Springfield Cop Watch. How many cops do they need to dictate for the joke they want to tell? Because otherwise, those cops will not be there.
Yeah.
Other little notes. Mandate from the network that this is still when they had to do this. I'm not sure when this stopped, because it did stop eventually, but there was a point, network note, that they had to do anytime they brought back Sideshow Bob, they had to recap every time he had appeared to date so that anyone tuning in understood who this person was. So that's partly in the parole hearing why you have Krusty, why you have Selma, because it was a network note. You could do this episode, but you have to explain to the viewers, why do we care about it?
Huh. Interesting.
So what other little notes? Do you have any other notes or trivia you'd like to hit? I have one I'd like to do deep about the reception to this episode, as we've been praising its praising its love. I have kind of a thing I'd like to hit on that, but I'd love to know if you have any other trivia.
3 things is what I've got. There are actually, so everyone, I would think, thinks of the HMS Pinafore that he sings, and he talks about the entire Gilbert and Sullivan or whatever, and then they actually have, I forget, it's the FBI light opera sings Gilbert and Sullivan earlier, so there are actually 2 Gilbert and Sullivan pieces in this entire episode. I guess they do mention that, but the Mikado is 3 Little Maids from School Are We is actually from the Mikado, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan piece, and then HMS Pinafore also. So multiple. I don't know where that came from. If they just thought, oh, that makes, I mean, it made sense for Bob just because he would sing something cultured, but I don't know why they added in 3 Little Maids, but sure, hey, whatever. The score, which is awesome, just obvious, and became Sideshow Bob's theme from there on out, did get Alf Clausen an Emmy nomination. He didn't win, so I didn't go far enough to see who actually won for it, but he did get nominated for it, very deservedly so, because it's a great theme.
He was nominated at the 1993 45th Emmy Awards for Outstanding Individual Achievement Music Composition for this episode, Cape Feare. He lost to Joel McNeely and the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Boo.
Yeah, which I never reviewed into that show. That really actually kind of disappoints me that it wasn't something more noteworthy.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
On we go. My last note, and maybe you have this here, and I never saw this in, I guess I never watched the deleted scenes if they were on the DVD. But apparently there was a deleted scene where Homer wakes up in the middle of the night, and I have this written down. So wakes up in the middle of the night and goes to the kitchen where he's served a sandwich by Sideshow Bob, who is pretending to be Consuela the maid. For reasons unknown, Chief Wiggum is also sitting at the table. Homer goes back to bed before he realizes they don't have a maid. I would enjoy seeing that if I haven't seen it.
Anyway, so I would like to read from Wikipedia. But they, in the reception category, we've talked about how this is like one of the most well-regarded Simpsons episodes of all time. I'd like us to show our homework on that. I'm going to read off the accolades that this episode has gotten throughout the years. First off, we always do our IMDb ranking. This IMDb ranking out of 10 has a massive 9.2 rating.
Yeah, wow.
And you got to think about, like, so often the people who vote online are not going there to vote because they love something. Most people who vote are voting because they hate something and they want to voice that. They're not taking the time to be, I love it. That's how good this episode is. This episode crossed through an internet barrier to be like, oh no, everybody loves this. That's where that's hit. USA Today published a top 10 written by the webmaster of the Simpsons Archive, where this was ranked 9 out of 10. Vanity Fair called this Vanity Fair. The reason I say that is because Vanity Fair called this show's the 4th best episode ever in 2007. IGN called this the best episode of the fifth season. The Daily Telegraph, is that a UK thing? Is that who I think it is?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I don't want to reference them. Daily Telegraph's a British daily conservative newspaper. That said, they categorized it, I'd heard of it, that's why I read it, as a top 10 all-time Simpsons episode. This one makes me laugh because I feel like this guy had to have come into Wikipedia and put it in himself. Did you know that Carl Akerstrom of the Swedish newspaper Baras Tidning called it his all-time favorite
Oh.
episode of the show? Did you know
No,
that?
yeah. Carl and I, old buddies. Yeah.
Hank Azaria
Yeah.
calls this his favorite episode of all time. IGN gave this a perfect 10 out of 10 score. AV Club called this number one of the top 10 all-time Sideshow Bob episodes. Empire Magazine called this the best Sideshow Bob. It also called it the 33rd best film reference episode the show ever did out of all the, which sounds niche, but the show's been on for over 30 years and they've done a lot of them. So that's pretty good. And this is why I also got here. This kills me. Another one where I feel like these guys had to put this. The Norwegian newspaper Nettavisen listed Sideshow Bob's Die About Die tattoo from the episode as the fifth best tattoo reference in film history. Film and
Wow.
history.
That's
So what a
specific.
niche category. I also feel like I need to find that list from Nettavisen from the Norwegian newspaper, and we're going to read that list before we go. I want you to know that. I found that list. That's so fucking weird. Finally, Time Magazine ranks this episode 9th in its list of 10 best Simpsons episodes, as picked by their handpicked panel of Simpsons experts. So Time Magazine did that in 2019. The point of all of this is there's no one across multiple spectrums, across multiple media who's like, I don't care for that one. This episode is beloved.
Yeah.
This episode is funny. And if anything, if I've ever said this in any other review, please go watch this episode. Are you a Simpsons person? Go watch it again. Are you not a Simpsons person? I don't care. I think you'll find this episode funny. Go watch it, please.
That's
So there you go.
perfectly said. It's just so good.
Now we're going to dial in to this article from from 2007 that I had to have Google translate.
Not locked into your Norwegian.
I'm not locked into my Norwegian, but this article from 2007 that is no longer up and running. This website, it is at the bookmark is referencing the Internet Archive Wayback Machine, which is a great reference. But here are, as ranked by Norwegian website Nettavisen, their top 10 TV and film tattoos. Number 1, barbed wire starring Pamela Anderson. Guys might be staring at it as it's on her barely covered breasts. So that's what they wrote.
Huh.
The top headline, by the way, is Men's Best Tattoo Movies, Men's Dream, subheadline, Many Men Find Pamela Anderson Sexy. That's the subheadline. Number 2, Escape from New York. Number 3 is Cape Feare. Oh my God. It's not the fucking Simpsons episode.
It's Robert De Niro.
It is Cape Feare. It is Cape Feare. Whoever added this Wikipedia note with their reference bookmark. Oh no, it is there. It's number 5.
Oh.
The movie version of Robert De Niro is 3.
Wow.
That's amazing. By the way, it's the only TV show on the list of 10. It's a list of the top 10 film and TV tattoos from this Norwegian website. The only one that's TV is number 5, The Simpsons Die Bar.
Wow.
I'm going to quickly hit the others because I've now lost. Cape Feare, Jesus. Cape Feare, the movie version with De Niro, the remake is number 3. Number 4 is Darth Maul's tattoos from The Phantom Menace. Number 6 is the movie Reign of Fire with Matthew McConaughey. I've never seen this, but apparently he's a military leader who has an entire upper body full of tattoos.
Mhm.
So, Shark Summer. Wait, what the fuck is this? This isn't just Jaws? Hang
Is
on.
that what it was called in
Shark,
Norway? Shark Summer? Oh,
it can't be. Because this is, I can't tell if it's, I'm going to read this to you. Shark Summer. The tattoo of Quint, played by Robert Shaw, is only barely visible in the film. It shows the USS Indianapolis, which he does have a USS Indianapolis tattoo in Jaws. But is this a tattoo of Quint from Jaws in a movie called Shark Summer? Or did this Norwegian, or did they release it as Shark Summer in, nor did they release Jaws as Shark Summer? Or did Google Translate make it Shark Summer when it translated it to English? What the Shark Summer Norwegian film? It is called Shark Summer in Norway.
wow.
That was the actual title of Jaws. Holy shit. That's not a mistranslation. This list is worth it now simply based on this. This is simply based on for me to find out that in the 1970s, the movie Jaws was released as Shark Summer in Norway. So yes, Quint's tattoo is a top 10 all-time film tattoo in Shark
Oh
Summer.
my.
That sounds like the worst beach party film of all time, where it's a net, it's Frank, and it's Quint, and it's Shark Summer. Number 8 is Memento, Guy Pearce tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is Manhunter, but not it's not Red Dragon later
Right.
on version from. And finally, number 10 is The Night of the Hunter. The evil Harry Powell, played by Robert Mitchum, has the words love and hate tattooed
Right.
the bottom joints of his fingers, which is actually also
Yeah.
referenced in the Simpsons
Yep.
episode, Cape Fear. Was that movie always called The Night of the Hunter? Is that a.
No, no, it's a different movie,
Yes, it
right?
was.
Isn't?
No, 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 no. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are 100% right. I'm not talking about Cape Fear. I just was thinking, was that also an American translation? No, it is
Oh
actually.
yeah,
I
no.
always knew it was a
Robert
Robert
Mitchum
Mitchum
in both
reference.
the
Like,
original Cape Fear and Night of the
yes,
Hunter, but
yes. That's
had the hand
fantastic.
tattoos
Yeah,
in that one.
that's fantastic. Anyway, I love Shark Summer. It's one of my top 5 movies of all time. I have a reference. So did you know that movie was released as Jaws in America? And I have, niche reference, a Jaws poster up in my office. But I love the movie Shark Summer. I'll always love the movie Shark Summer, and I will only reference it as Shark Summer forward.
Ugh.
It cost me a lot of money to find this American print of where it's called Jaws. It's a great poster. Big fan. But you should, I kind of want to watch Shark Summer. Great movie. Spielberg's best. One of his,
This
the fact that Shark Summer started what we know as summer blockbuster makes sense because he had a big Shark Summer.
I'm so confused. I just Norwegians love this
Are
art.
you Are you saying we've lost the narrative? That we need to end the episode? That I'm prolonging
You get
things and
you're
we're
that's
going head
assuming that we
first?
had it for the last 20 minutes, but it's like
I feel we did.
yeah.
And when we stop recording, you tell me if we cut, but I really want to leave in Shark Summer.
Oh, very good.
So that said, this has been a lot of fun. I feel like we went hard on our 2 topics, and we knew we were going to go hard on our 2 topics, which is why we only did what we did. But I hope you all enjoyed this. Please leave us comments, leave us feedback. You can leave comments anywhere you listen to the podcast. You can email me at Mike Barcode, that's MikeBarcode, at gmail.com. We love feedback. We'd love to know people are listening. I'm asking for feedback. Unless you already gave us feedback. Don't be thirsty. Don't be thirsty. Give it some time. Let other people chime in. I always make sure to end one of these by clearly ruining any good viewer goodwill that we have. But I love anyone who takes the time to listen. This has been so much fun being back at it. Randy, any final thoughts, my friend?
No, I would echo that. So much fun to do it, and on the viewer feedback, if anybody has ideas, you got stuff you want to throw around for us to mess with, please.
Yeah,
We always kind of toss up stuff around as we're going back and forth, but we're definitely game for viewer requests as well.
100%. This has been an absolute pleasure. And, I called you friend here, but I'd like to remember, based on the title of this, that's a platitude. I'm not 100% certain. Yeah, we're
I'm
good.
also realizing I'm an idiot. This is not viewers; it would be listeners. So listener requests. We'll leave that in. Just show how
I
much
think
an
I
idiot
said,
I am. So
to be fair, I think I said viewer as
okay,
well. We're geniuses and we're perfect and we never have any flaws. And we'll see you all next week.
sounds good. Bye, everybody.